About the players you have on your injury list, who's improving and who can't play this week?
Well, we expect that the ones we're talking about would be Hartlett and Houston. And once we get through this morning, I'm really confident on Hamish. Dan will see this morning a little bit more off, and equally, I'm not saying he won't play at all, but Dan's still got a little bit more to tick off.
You talked about the depth that you had. Is it being tested to the absolute limit, or has it actually got some sort of reassurance to you that you do have that depth?
No, certainly it's getting a test, but there's still some quality playing in the sample side tonight, and when you've got people like Pau Pepper and Rockcliffe and Leanett, McKenzie, they're still all basically playing in the sample team. No, it still gives you some confidence that there's a little bit left there, but we'd like the injuries to stop. But the game, I reckon it's highlighting something in the game already this year, and I think everyone is starting to talk about it: the length of the game, the reductions in everything. Collision injuries that are happening because you're out there for longer. People say, oh, they happen in first quarters, happen in last quarters, but you add an extra 20 minutes back to the game, that's a lot more collisions you're going to have to face and have to handle, and I do think it's a real concern for the game.
You took Marty Frederick for a trip last week. Would you be prepared to play him this week?
We'll take him for the trip to Adelaide Oval on Sunday evening and let him play and see how he goes. It's a great story. He's a next-gen academy player, and he's worked really hard for 3 years to get an opportunity, and look, there's as much excitement around Marty Fredericks for us as a football club as there's been about any of our young players coming through, and not just purely because of his talent, but his story. It's a remarkable story, and we're really proud of him, and he'll get his first game.
What's he been doing? Can you get a sample? How do you describe him his game?
Oh, he's clearly got some outside wheels and some speed that are really important for us, and obviously with the side we're coming up against, we've got real speed on the floor too. He'll get an opportunity to play on a number of different players. He can play halfback, he can play wing. It's quite flexible for us, so we enjoy what he brings. But he's worked really hard. Marty, had a real challenge at the start of the year, mate. You need to play some consistent sample football, and to his credit, week in, week out, he's played at a really high level.
What sort of kid is he?
He's full of energy, he's full of bubble. He's the sort of kid that you love having around your football club, and as I said, his story and himself and his journey is a remarkable one, and we all learn a lot about Marty and what his journey's been. But a little part of it tomorrow will be where him and his twin Michael get to. They're both going to play their first game. It's an incredible story.
How much has he actually improved over the past couple of years? Because it seems like he was reasonably raw a couple of years ago.
Yeah, look, he was, but he come off, his understanding of the game. He just picked it up through junior school and, basically some Oz kick and bits and pieces that you go through. So he learned a lot in a hurry. I think his story told us that him and his brother one day, the football got kicked over the fence and they didn't have a clue what it was. That's where their journey started with AFL. It's remarkable, and his improvement has continued to go in the right direction, and really hope he's got a long career in front of him.
Back to the injuries for a second. What do you think is the solution to that if it's becoming a problem, all these factors?
It's not my job to figure out the solution, but I just know that one of the challenges has been the way the game's played now. It's a tough game of football to play, but some of the stuff that we're seeing they're just part of the game. And maybe there is no solution, but I think the length of the game is certainly one that we played around with last year, and we went back to the longer game this year. And I'm not sure that is that right or wrong. I'll let that to the decision makers to make.
How much does the game last year stay in your memory of what St Kilda can do, regardless of their form?
Yeah, well, they're one of the teams that beat us last year, obviously, and it's a great challenge. And they beat us here at Adelaide Oval, so they've got their own problems themselves at the moment with their form, and we don't want to be any part of their solution. To be honest, we want to make sure that we keep our form in the position that we need to be. But we know what they did last year. The game said 28 points. It felt like halfway through the third quarter we had a fair bit of control in the game. We couldn't score. Now we've done some work on that, and I think we're showing that we're able to score more efficiently this year. So hopefully that can challenge them a bit more.
You look at their win against West Coast rather than the 2 losses, or how do you balance up there?
Yeah, you always prepare for their best. So their win against West Coast was outstanding, and spent a lot of time watching through that game. And even the first half of that game, they were down by a bit, but their game looked pretty strong. I think with Marshall and Jones probably coming back into their team, that will certainly make a difference to the way they structure up around the ball as well.
Just clarifying, Houston, will you make your decision today, or will you?
No, he'll be right at the end. Make sure he's okay when we get there, and tomorrow night, and then we'll worry about it from there.
Do you need to be pretty close to 100%?
Yeah, they all have to be. With the game we play today, you just can't afford to go in with too much of an issue. But it's already round 6. Players are going in next week. Look, Dan would be one of the players who will be, if he goes in a little bit sore, he won't be the only player in our team or the St Kilda team that goes in a little bit sore.
If Houston gets up, is Frederick and Jones the only?
Yeah, that's basically what because of the sub and what you have to name and how you name it. It can look like there's other players that are in and out of the side. Leave it till we name the sub and you'll know exactly what it is. But Marty will certainly play.
That game against Carlton last week, is that the closest to what you can imagine Port Adelaide doing when they control a game?
We played a really good game. I think we played a really strong. It was a really strong performance against a side who who I think are a side who are going to get better and are challenging, and you have to be at your best. And I thought we controlled the game really well. I thought we played with great composure, and we played with some, I think, understanding of how we play our best football, and we're able to execute that on the MCG, interstate, which is always a challenge for teams.
Just the significance of the day tomorrow. Do your players go to the dawn service and also to actually play on
Yeah, they'll have their own opportunities to do, and there's so many of them that will take those opportunities to get that feel again of Anzac Day. Anzac Day is just a fantastic day as a country. I mean, we're honoured to play, and what we get to do is highlight the day, and I think that's what we should take on board, is we highlight Anzac Day. We ain't Anzac Day, and we acknowledge all the people who fought for us, and we're lucky to live in this country now because of that. So it'll never be undersold by our football club. You know, when you look at grandstands at Port Adelaide and you see what it means to us, and it's an absolute honour to play Anzac Day, and we look forward to that tomorrow night.
Do you actually make a big deal of Anzac Day to your players before?
Yeah, we always, because of the significance of the day, you always talk, and because of what we try to put it some way in terms of battle. For us, football is battle. It's nothing like life and death battle, so I don't want anyone to think that is the case. But we try to, to call on what it is and what the spirit of the day means, and you go out there, and I think every one of the 18 sides would do that day.
What's Tom Rockcliffe got to do? I think it was 41 touches last week. But
Maybe 42.
it's tough though, isn't it, for players?
Yeah, Tom's in good form. Let's go back a little bit and reflect on Tom's first 4 weeks of the year was a bit disrupted, subbed a couple of times, then got concussion, had to miss another week. He played last week and played at a level that's really strong. We know, if Dan Houston doesn't play, Tom Rockcliffe will play. There you go. So that's exactly what would happen if that was the case. So we know he's a high quality player who can come in and play for us. At the moment, our team balance is really strong, and we like what we're doing. And Tom understands that. Does he like that? I wouldn't say he absolutely likes that, but he understands that and knows that he'll be ready when the time comes. All good? Thank you.
Thank you.